Hey everyone, and welcome back to Humankind. In this video, I'm going to talk through some problems with Humankind. Some things that I would like to see fixed in the next update, or future updates. I should just really quickly say at the start here though, so far Humankind has had two fairly significant patch updates, and kudos to Amplitude Studios, because they've been two very good updates, addressing a lot of the things I'm pleased to say that we've already talked about here on the channel. And now that's not because this is the be-all and end-all place for Humankind discussion. There are some great G2G forums and so on for that. But it is great to see that the things that we're talking about are being fixed. So let's now talk about some more imperfections and problems, stumbling blocks with Humankind. First and foremost, here you can see me playing out in practice the first one, and I have a couple of issues with the Neolithic era. Firstly, when you discover new units, they have full movement if you break them away from the existing tribe. You can see me doing that here. I feel like that's not necessarily broken on all speeds and difficulties, but maybe it needs to be adjusted a bit. Maybe they need to have half movement. Or maybe it should only be in faster game modes, but not in slower ones. Or maybe they shouldn't have any extra movement altogether. I'm not sure, but I think we need to think about that and maybe make some adjustments. I also think that something about separating the units out is difficult in of itself. Something is a bit buggy or a bit glitchy. Sometimes when I try and separate a unit, it refuses to separate. It's a small thing and kind of goes against my first point here, but I do think it matters. Speaking of things that matter in the Neolithic era in particular, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this below, choosing cultures seems still really hard. Now, sometimes since the last patch, I notice I'm able to play the Harappans now. The AI doesn't seem to beeline them as much, but they love the Mycenaeans, they love the Nubians here quite a bit, they love the Egyptians, and still, to be fair, the Harappans. So I think there needs to be a little bit of tweaking here still. I have not been able to play with the Mycenaeans on stream yet, despite getting first or second pick. I think we need a little bit more tweaking there. The next thing I think we really should discuss are the city districts and festivals. These things need discussion because they are so wildly varied. And I don't know if this is just me, but hear me out. So, some of these infrastructures are very, very good. For example, the early food ones, if you have horses, +5 food on them. If you have a river, +2 food on every river tile. These infrastructures clearly make sense, and considering the very early stages of the game that you unlock them, you get a lot of benefit. +2 food per river. Have a look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rivers here alone. 6, 7. I can see 7 or 8 river tiles on screen. These infrastructures are so powerful. But then there are other weird ones that just don't quite feel as good somehow. Take, for example, the theatre, +4 influence on main plaza. And there are some arguments to be made, I think, around the effectiveness of infrastructure that provides influence as you go through the game. You can see now I'm getting 184 per turn, and while this +4 here would scale, is it really that impactful to take this main plaza from a 14 to an 18? I wonder, and it really only gets worse the more you go through, the later in the game you get, the more you sort of left scratching your head. I mean, even here, levy administration, right? I can spend 6 turns here on blitz speed, by the way, nearly 1/10 of the game, to get +3 money on the main plaza. Whereas for 2 turns, I can build this market quarter. There's a really terrible spot for one, and it's +3 money straight off the get-go. Yes, there's a stability cost, but I just don't think it's worth it. I mean, I could build this maker's quarter and build a garrison in the same time, right? Look at this, garrison in 2 turns and a maker's quarter in 3. It does make me wonder, and I think that the infrastructures need some toning or maybe even some consolidation. Maybe we could merge some of the less useful ones together. I think that might make it not only a little bit more understandable, but also a little bit more effective. For example, all of these could be the same, right? Or these productive ones could be the same. Or some of the later game influence could merge together. Or even maybe give me a massive discount on infrastructures from previous eras. Maybe combine them and have one thing that I can build called an infrastructure package that brings me up to date. These are some ideas. I'd love to hear yours, but that's broadly my issues with infrastructures. And I think that public ceremonies are the same. In some niche cases where you have nothing else to build, or you're really struggling for food, it can be worthwhile to do a feast and provide +5 food to your main plaza forever, for example. But really, if you look at the amount of turns that it takes to build these in comparison to my districts, they're a hard sell. I won't dwell on this next point for too long, but it's something that we talk about quite often in the live streams. It's this: the religion screen. Now, I've argued it many times, and I'll say it again. Religion in Humankind is not bad, but it is basic. Essentially, you build buildings that produce faith. Holy sites, sometimes unique districts can provide some faith, just like this one provides influence and money. And also you have some public ceremonies, right? The Holy Day, +5 faith on holy sites to buff your existing holy sites. These are essentially your measures to control faith, and then if you jump out to the faith screen, you can see how many of your population follow your faith, and if you're producing more faith than your opponent, and you have trade routes, etc. that can provide even easier spread of faith through lands, you'll eventually overtake them and become the most dominant. It is basic in that sense. It's quite sort of straightforward. You build the faith generation, you get the followers, you spread it out. There are some civics, it's worth noting, that interact with faith along the bottom right here of the civics tree. So there are some different sort of beliefs and actions and abilities you can do. You can also adopt atheism if you want to throw religion out altogether. But overall, while it's basic and not bad, it could use a bit more. It is indeed a race to basically who can produce the highest faith yield, who can produce the most followers, and then who can pick the best tenets. And man, there are some good ones. And I want to add that here too. This is a video reflecting on some of the things that Humankind could improve on, but in many ways, and I'm gonna maybe be playing devil's advocate here a bit, but I actually think that this religious system isn't terrible. Yes, it's basic, but it's actually quite enjoyable. It makes sense. I don't have to micromanage a whole load of units. I can go through, pick my tenets, upgrade my religion, and spread it in a way that is intuitive and makes sense. And for that reason, yes, I would like to see more done to religion. More tenets, perhaps. Some that have trade-offs, right? A lot of these are broadly pretty positive. You can see here over on the left, the ones that I've got already, another holy site and cheaper civics or industry. It feels like I'm not taking on as many negatives as I am with positives, so maybe that's a way to add a bit more nuance to it as well. I'm keen to know your thoughts. What do you think about religion? Let me know. Am I totally wrong? Next up, I've swapped over to my live world to talk to you a little bit about resources. So in the first update to Humankind, luxuries and strategic resources received some balancing. In particular, strategic resources like this one here, oil. Oil and uranium, as well as aluminium, were made more frequently appearing in the world. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that they spawn more often. Right? And that was a big fix for us because it was quite difficult to pick up some of these later game resources. Not so much iron, but potentially gunpowder and definitely oil and uranium. Now, here in this game, I haven't quite unlocked uranium. But I know for a fact that given there are only 2 strategic resources I haven't got, these question marks are going to be uranium in some cases. I'm likely to pick up 1, 2... probably 2, 3 uranium here on this continent, which I fought for, by the way. But my point here is that these resources are still very rare, and I would like to see, mainly, actually, here's looking at oil. I'd like to see a way for us to manufacture oil synthetically. That exists in real life. It should exist in Humankind as well. It would help reduce some of those bottlenecks. Also, though, this is sort of a 2-part constructive criticism, because I also want to draw your attention to these resources. At the moment, I control 6 saffrons, saying that very carefully because I know my accent can lead something to be desired, and undoubtedly YouTube's captions down the bottom probably captioned a different number there that is higher than 5 and less than 7. However, take a look at these bonuses. Here are 2 with the gemstones, plus 30% money and plus 60 stability for controlling them. I have the Wondrous effect. It was quite easy to get. In fact, I'm probably going to be able to get it on a lot of these, you can see across the board. These luxuries are so powerful and they're so strong because you can trade for them and get the monopoly effect, that Wondrous effect. And I think that that maybe needs to be tweaked at the very least. Yes, have me trade for luxuries. And I really like the way that Humankind handles luxury trade. It's so easy. You jump in, you see the luxuries you want, you hit buy, you spend the gold, one off, and it's yours as well as theirs. Really great system. Honestly, as I play through it right now and I buy these luxuries, I think it is absolutely fan-freaking-tastic. However, However, I would like to see the Wondrous effects toned down or at least controlled a bit, because I don't think that just because I purchase Silk, I should be able to build the Wondrous ability, firstly. But secondly, after that is fixed, I think that as a whole, these impacts, plus 30% money, plus 30% food, plus a further plus 20% food, plus 20% industry, and all of the stability that goes with these as well, arguably just a bit too strong. This save is actually another wonderful example of another issue. However, I should note, in this save I was playing as entirely Aesthite cultures, so my influence was quite high, and as you can see, I've got a lot of territories popping up all over the show. Shift F10, by the way, if you want to clear off the HUD and just have a really nice view of the map. Anyway, I should jump back into the real view and discuss city caps. So up in the top right here, you can see you have a city cap. At the moment, mine is 6, but I actually have 8 cities. That's 2 more than I should. The penalty for having 2 more than I should is 120 influence, and when I'm making 2,000, that's really a non-issue. The gold is a separate issue. It's not being affected, by the way. If you're only 1 above your city cap, if I was 7 out of 6, the penalty would be 10. Literally 10 influence. This is on slow speed as well, so really that's nothing when I'm making 2,000 a turn. Even at 2 over the cap, I'm not bothered. In fact, in this playthrough, because I went so influence heavy, I could probably be like 4 or 5 over the cap and still be fine. It does scale up very quickly, don't get me wrong, right? It's 10 influence for the first, and then over 100 for the second, but still, I think we maybe need to make the penalties of being over your city cap a little bit more pronounced, or maybe have them scale through eras, because 100 influence in era number 6, nearly era number 7, it's simply not enough, and I think we need to tweak that a bit here. And finally, this is another great save to highlight this. Wonders. Are they too good? Should they be too good? Maybe they should. I'm not quite sure where I stand on this one, and I would encourage you to think about this as well. So these wonders, like the Eiffel Tower that you're looking at here, provides +1 industry for every population and innately provides some stability and so on as well. If we move next door, you can see St. Basil's Cathedral is providing me with 200 faith and a variety of other yields. However, they're not alone. Take a look over here. You can see the Taj Mahal. You can see I also managed to pick up the Pyramids of Giza, which someone built for me, and then I took their city and took it. That's providing me with +5% industry too. I believe over here you've got the statue of Zeus. You can see its yields on the left. What I'm saying here is that I think that some of these wonders, here you can see Machu Picchu, they could be a little bit strong. Even the very, very early wonders are arguably a bit too powerful. Have a look in the wonder overview screen here, and you can see all of the wonders that are available into the game. Right, these ones at the very start, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon provides you with the Wondrous effect, for example. The Mausoleum of Halicarnassus provides +2 science after its nerf, +2 science per district in every city. These things are very strong, and these are very early effects, but they carry on very strong throughout the game as well. Eiffel Tower, +1 industry per population. St. Basil's, +20 faith, which I'm using in conjunction with Notre Dame, potentially, to build up an insane combo with another wonder like, I don't know, Angkor Wat, +1 food per faith. All of a sudden, my cathedral over here is actually providing me with +228 food, because it's providing me with 228 faith. And you can see those yields in full effect when you sort of zoom out to the wider empire abilities. Overall, I think that wonders could be a little bit too strong and may need some tweaking, particularly when they're fairly easy to claim in the early game, particularly if you're spending influence and earning influence like me, like there's absolutely no tomorrow. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Do let me know your thoughts below, and I'll see ya in the next one.